What up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of the Independent Living Podcast. This is where we talk with some of the dopest independent creators out there. And I'm super excited today because we haven't had a producer on yet, but we have my guy Six joining us. Welcome to the show, man.
Man, appreciate it. I'm honored to be the first producer, and we go way back. So, man, this is this
Yeah,
is this is great, man. Good to chop it up again.
yeah. No, we just hopped on and I didn't want to waste any questions that would be good for the podcast. But obviously, everything comes full circle. I'm at Two
Yeah,
Lost. We're releasing your new project through Two Lost. So we got reconnected. The Why Should I record is already out. I just want to start with, I think I read that it's your debut album, but you've been
yeah.
around for so long. Like,
I know.
why did it take so long? Like, why now?
Yeah, you know what they say, like better late than never, right? So
Mhm.
even though it is, further down my career, like, I was always so locked in as a producer, trying to fulfill other artists' needs, and I was super focused on that, and most of my time was just that. But as I get older, I'm starting to wake up every day, not being like, man, I just don't want to wake up every day and just open my laptop and just make beats all day. I want to kind of challenge myself and push myself to make
Mm.
a full record, so kind of like the last year or so, it's just been in my head. And I woke up one day and was like, man, let's just do it and see what happens. The biggest thing for me was just kind of proving to myself that I could do it.
Mm.
Being a producer, you're kind of in the background, like
Mhm.
you're working on these records, but at the end of the day, it's the artist's face. They got to go out there. They got to push the record. So I kind of felt like I was just living complacent, man. I was living easy,
Mm.
doing my thing, making successful records. Obviously, I'm super grateful for that. But there was a part of me that's like, man, I just don't want to coast, and take things for granted. So I kind of just pushed myself and hit up all these cool artists and the homies, and was like, man, let's just see what happens. And it was fun. It was just fun to make at the end of the day, no expectations, no sale expectations, none of that. Just wanted to make something that I thought
Mhm.
was dope to put out there and show people like, yeah, man, like I do have this side of me that I can put together like a full record with different styles, different artists. And
Yep.
I just wanted to put that out into the world. It's been
I,
fun.
I love that, man. I've always encouraged producers. I think a lot of times, the person, the kind of the default personality of the producer is to kind of take a back
Yes.
seat, service the artist. But there is such an opportunity now for the ones that are willing and want to kind of step to the forefront, have a voice, tell your own
Hmm.
story, and do much bigger things if that's what you want to do. I mean, a lot of producers they want to be in the background. They chilling, they like doing just making the beats.
I
But I
felt that way for a long time myself. Like
think,
seriously, like that's what I was like, man, I'm a low key guy. Like this is the perfect gig. Like which I still feel like as the producer, it's like you get kind of all the perks of, the industry or whatever you want to call it. You're in the studios, you can be in the music videos, you can go to these events, and you're still low key, But you look at people like I always say like Metro Boomin, for example, right?
mhm,
Who's put out these producer records, and they've become some of the biggest records in hip hop in the last 5 years. Like I'm
yeah,
looking at these streaming numbers, I'm looking at these sales, I'm looking at these
yeah,
shows, and
mm,
he's a producer, man. At the end of the day, he's a producer. Like,
yeah,
but he pushed himself and made sure that he put himself out there, and it paid off, and it's inspiring
yeah.
to see people like that.
Yeah, so that was some of the inspiration for you, just kind of seeing these
Yeah,
producers do their
yeah,
thing.
man.
Like, man, I could lock in and do the same thing, pretty much.
For sure, man. Like Metro is one of them, man. Even someone like, The Alchemist, for example,
Mm,
obviously he's been doing this shit forever. But it seems like he's having his prime right now, I feel like.
mhm.
And
Yeah.
that's just him like putting out records with these artists like every couple months. I
Mhm.
just saw he's doing some shit with Larry June and Two Chains, and
Yep.
he's like expanding his sound even now too. Like he's doing like some trap kind of stuff with Two Chains, but it's still him.
Yep.
So yeah, I look at all these artists, man. Even man, someone like No ID, for example,
Mm.
who I've kind of like looked up to for a while. And when I first moved to LA, he was one of the first people that I got contact with. And he's when I met him, he was probably like mid 40s, and he was having the prime of his
Mm.
career too. And I'm
Yeah.
just thinking, man, like as a producer, like there's no shelf limit to
Right.
this shit, man.
Right.
You can always reinvent yourself. I mean, as an artist, it might be a little
Yeah.
different, you
No,
know.
but even as an artist though, I think this past year T-Pain caught a new wave.
That's a good point.
You know what
That's
I'm
a good
saying? Like
point. Yeah, because he
I don't
stayed
think,
young with the youth, right? Like he's doing the
yeah.
streaming shit, and
No
like
screen, yep.
it's smart. It's real smart.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the beauty of today, making music today. I think you always have a chance to kind of breathe life into your career. You have a chance to breathe
Hmm.
life into older songs. Older songs can come back and start winning and charting again. So you said it's
Very
not.
true.
So you said it's not sales or streaming numbers. Like what is the win or the goal, or was the goal just completing this album? Like what do you want?
Yeah, yeah. That's like as simple as that is. Like the goal for me was, yeah, getting into these because I never even really did sessions and shit, man.
Mm,
Like that was something new for me. You know, like me and Logic always have been so locked in, and we were always working on 3, 4 albums at a time, and
mm,
we were just boom, boom, boom. And I didn't really want to, you know, really work with anybody else or go into the studio because I really was just like, man, this we have something special going here, like.
yeah.
I'm like gonna tap into this and focus on this, and obviously it paid off. But also as we get older, me and Logic, both of us, like he's expanding his portfolio as well. He's doing
Yeah.
books, he's doing TV shows, movies,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sitting here like, man, like that it was inspiring. So I'm sitting here like, man, I need to expand my shit too. I need to expand my portfolio. So
Yeah.
I was like, man, let me just make this album, man, and get into the studio with these artists, which
Uh-huh.
I've never done, and see if I can lead, because when you're an artist in the studio, you got to lead. And that was one thing, and be decisive with
Mm-hmm.
decisions, which I had to learn. It's not like as a producer in the studio with an artist, it's you can play a bunch of beats and the artist kind of has to decide,
Yeah.
or the artist picks what they want, right?
Yeah.
But in this case, for me, it was like I'm in the studio. I gotta make the decisions. I can't
Yeah.
just rely on someone else to
Did
make
did
the shit for me.
did you like that role? Did you like being in that?
Yeah, I did. I did. I did. It took me a while to like really, like stand on my shit, 10 toes. But it's like after a while, I kind of gained more confidence and was able to, really like convey my ideas and bring these artists into my world and vision.
And
And I think it paid off.
so the artists that you work with, did you? And I'm definitely not looking for any names. I don't want no drama or anything like that. But were there any artists that came because they're used to leading and making those decisions? Were they pretty receptive to your feedback,
Yeah.
your suggestions?
Yeah, no, I was really surprised, man, how like cool everybody is, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like they say sometimes like don't meet people in the industry or whatever, but man, like at the end of the day, we're all just musicians, I feel like, and all kind of just regular people that happen to make music. Well, the people that I worked with at least, like I
Yeah.
got lucky, but nah, man, everyone was super cool and receptive and like open to the idea. And I think one thing I noticed too with some of these artists is when they came to the studio and stuff, I wasn't necessarily playing beats or stuff that they would normally get on. So a
Mm-hmm.
part of me was like, they're kind of fulfilling a side of their artistry that they can
Nice.
maybe not necessarily do on their shit, but
Yeah.
you can come over here and like for example, like someone like Drum, right, on Why Should I, who's like that hook, like why should I give a fuck? Why
Mm-hmm.
should I was like, I don't think Drum was necessarily like in that zone. But
Yeah.
then when he came through my shit, he was like, man, like I haven't done this kind of record in a while. Like it was fun. So I think that was cool for the artist too to come through and just have fun, experiment. There's no pressure on their side, like it's not their album. So
Yeah.
it kind of relieved pressure for them to just have fun.
Yeah, it's not as much of a risk because a lot of times artists
Right.
they have their story, they have their messaging. But even with artists, I encourage them like if you have another interest, I think Russ does a good job of this because he has like
Hmm.
his main album, and then he has like forget the name of it, but that rap like that hardcore rap series going too, and
Yes, yes.
that's kind of how he segments those efforts. So I would imagine that most of the people that you have on this project you had an existing relationship with
Yes
or
and
no?
no. Yes and no. I would say maybe like half the artists I did, and the other half I didn't. Someone like Skizzy Mars and Super Duper Kyle and like from Pactive and Blue, couple like Phil Day, like I knew from
Mhm.
before, but people like like Buddy and Drum and Guap Dad, Chloe the God, like a couple other artists, I just got linked through through my management, man, and my management through it's all like it's all family, but you know, through my management, we got linked up with a couple other people, and you know, became friends since then. You know, like that's what I love, like especially going to and into the studio with an artist. It's you know, you
Yeah.
get to kind of really connect and vibe and get to know the person rather than just you know sending a pack out or something like that, which
Right.
I've started to realize too. You know, it's like nothing beats that face to face interaction.
Yeah. No,
That's when the magic happens.
for sure. And you know, I met you a long time ago. We didn't really
Yeah,
interact.
man.
We didn't really interact much, but I always sensed that, you know, you just got a really solid, laid back, you know, chill vibe that I would
Yeah, yeah.
probably like. It doesn't seem like you put yourself out there that much, but once people meet you, they're probably like, oh, this cat cool. Like we can lock in.
Yeah, no, I mean, you nailed it on the head. That's like literally the embodiment of Homebody, like the album.
Mhm.
It's almost like ironic in a way where it's like, I am a homebody. I am a chill dude. You know, I like to just watch basketball at the crib and make beats and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? But,
Who, who's your
um,
squad? Who's your squad? Who
oh
you?
man, I mean, so football we're better. So I'm a Washington guy, Maryland guy. So Commanders
Okay.
this year we did
Okay.
great, but on the
Yeah.
other side, I'm a Wizards guy. So
Oh.
it's not looking good, but you know, you got to support. You got to support. We're tanking for the number one pick next year. So
So
that's where we're at.
all right. So who outside of the Wizard? We'll get back to the proper
Yeah,
end.
yeah. I love sports too. We can talk about that all day.
But who are some of your favorite players? Obviously, that aren't on the Wizards.
I was just watching this Luca debut last night, man, in LA. I fuck with Luca. Man, Wemby. I love
Okay.
watching
Oh
Wemby. I
man.
mean, still
Yeah.
love watching LeBron. I mean, all these guys, like all the new talent is it's like Cade from
Uh,
Detroit, like
man.
all these dudes, bro, are balling, man. It's
Yeah.
crazy. LaMelo,
I don't I think I know that people think that the game is the narrative is that the people aren't watching because of all the threes. My thing is I don't think people are watching because we're not investing into the next crop of stars, and
yeah,
there's not as many storylines and rivalries and just stuff like that, cuz I love the game the way I watch a
me
lot
too,
of
man.
basketball.
Like Jokic, man, I can watch
Man,
that dude play all day.
man,
You know?
there's so much Paolo at the Paolo down in the Magic, the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah,
Watch the De'Aaron Fox is one of my favorite players. I love watching him. Glad he's down with Wemby now. So
that's gonna be something scary right there.
for sure. Anyway, I didn't mean to derail
Yeah, no,
the
no, dude.
conversation.
Like that's what I love, man. Like that's just me at the crib, bro. Like we can talk about music one time and then immediately, you know, we can just go into sports. Like that's what it is. But like ironically, that's the thing. Like I am a homebody, but if you look at like the cover, I'm not there. So basically I'm outside trying
Mhm.
to make this record. So it's like ironic in a way where it's like I am a homebody, but
Yeah,
in order for me to have made this record, I had to step out.
yeah,
I had to push myself out of my comfort zone to meet these artists and you know do these interviews and you know whatever it is. So it's yeah, it was man. I had to push myself, but that's what makes it worth it. You know?
yeah. But I understand you guys had so much success, you know, working with Logic that I think
Yeah.
sometimes, and I understand why it has taken so long.
Yeah,
For the
yeah. Like
for,
I was gonna. We're gonna. I'm still like we're riding this wave. We're gonna always work together.
Mhm.
And you know, in that run, we you know from like 2010 since I met him till now, it's we've been putting out a record a year, two records a year. So it's like, man, I didn't even really have time for me to do this. You know, it was
Mhm.
always just kind of just working, working, working. And you know, as you know, he got his family. Man, he's a great father, great family man, great husband. Like we were saying, like he's doing the passion projects that he wants to do, and so I'm like, man, I gotta do the same thing. And
Yeah,
even though it did take me, you know, I'm about to be 34, which is maybe old in the you know industry, but it's really young as hell.
you young, bro.
Yeah, yeah, I know it, man. Like people, oh, you're, oh, I'm like, dog, trust me,
Mm.
I'm not. Like this is where life starts. I feel like, you know.
Did any of the because I know obviously Logic has a shitload of fans.
Hmm.
You know, every once in a while the internet would get on them for one reason or another. Did you see like some of the negativity of like being in the limelight and be like, nah, I don't really want to? you
Oh
know,
my God,
something like that.
100%, man. Like I always tell them, man, I'll never know what you go. I'll never know what. I'll never
Mhm.
fit in your shoes. I'll never know what you go through
Yeah.
because I'm not you. And
Mhm.
that's what a lot of fans and stuff need to realize. It's put yourself in his shoes. You know, it's like, do you know how much responsibility, how much pressure, how much work, like everything that an artist, not only him, but every artist has to go through to,
Yeah.
to become successful and famous. And yeah, like that hate, it definitely, like I'm already starting to see hate from my shit. I'm like, fuck, like
Hey,
at
it comes it
such a
comes with
smaller
success.
scale.
It comes with
Like,
success, man. It comes with success.
yeah, so I can't even imagine on a big scale like that, like, how it feels. So yeah, there was a part of me that was a little apprehensive, but at the end of the day, it's like you can't really live life like that.
Right.
You don't know what's gonna happen. So let's see. Let's see what happens.
But what are some of those cons? Because I'm thinking like, how can somebody? I know how people can hate because sometimes people get so much love, and the reason people hate is because they're mad that they're getting so much love. Like it's not really
Hmm.
they're not really mad at the artist or the art or anything. It's just like, man, they're getting so much love.
Yeah.
I got to inject some negativity. What's some of the negativity could you possibly be seeing already? What is this? Is there a common theme here?
Oh, for my shit? Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it's just like I dropped like one single and the people are all already like, I'm not too happy with his solo work. And it's like all these like big claims. I'm like, brother, I dropped one song. Like people like to already make like their tried and true like final conclusions. Like
Right.
when I really just dropped one song.
Yeah.
Or like someone be like, "Oh, like, no one wants to hear this shit." Like just like random shit like that. But it's like but I think it's kinda I have to sit back and be like, "Oh, this is what you signed up for, right?"
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
you gotta take it all.
Yeah, and you need that. It's good for the algorithm. You need somebody because other people are going to come in and to your defense, and it's just going to make the comment
Yeah.
section that much
Like
longer.
I'd rather have people feel something than just be like, "Yeah, it's cool."
Yeah, that's the worst place to be in, bro. That's
Like
the
right in the middle, right, is the
that
worst.
middle ground is the worst place to be. I tell artists that all the
Yeah.
time. So if say there's an up and coming producer watching this right now,
Mhm.
you obviously built a solid relationship and you guys had a lot of success together. Is that the route you would try to take again? I don't know how you and Logic met. Maybe we should talk about that. I don't know if it was intentional of like you making decision like, hey, let me lock in with this artist, help him craft his sound, like really be involved in the creation. Because some people are trying to figure out, should I spread myself across and try to work with as many people as possible, or should I find somebody super talented that I really believe in and really try to lock in? Which way?
Yeah, to that last point, I always tell people to find their artist, find their person that they want to work with. The place as a producer, like the placement game and all that kind of that game is tough. It's tough. You could have success doing that, but it's just like a lot of luck and it's a lot of I hope and a lot of, I hope this artist hears it or something like that. But for me, yeah, I always tell people, man, find your artist, find the person that you connect with, and you can make their whole record. You know,
Mhm.
you can get 10 placements, 12 placements on one record,
Mhm.
and you also get to build, a lifelong thing with this person. Like it's not going to just be one album; it's going to be one, two, three, many albums. And when it comes out, I feel like it's much more fulfilling. Like when the record comes out, because you put in a lot of work with the artists themselves, so it almost feels like it's your project as well. So like when me
Yeah.
and Logic were working on these records and we're putting these albums out, like I felt like I was very involved in it, and anytime he got love, like I felt like I like had a part of that.
Mhm.
And I'm not knocking the placement game. Like if you're like that, like there's a lot of producers that are just like, man, super, super skilled and talented that they don't even need to show face. People just can just hear their beats
Mhm.
and get placed. But it's tough, man. That's like the 1%, I feel like. Even
Yeah.
for someone like me, like trying to get placements is tough. It's a grind.
Yeah.
But if you're locked in with somebody, it's like, man, you can just forget about all that shit. You can focus all your energy, all your creativity into like one outlet and
Yeah.
make a real piece of art. So I always tell producers, find Find that person and
Yeah.
build for
But
sure.
and I think, at least from the outside looking in, like Logic did a really good job at like introducing his team or showing love to his team. And
I
that
always give him props for that, man.
yeah, but I think that that's important for artists to hear because, if you do lock in with somebody and you're really throwing your all behind that, it's a risk that that producer is taking, right? So what was the environment like that you felt comfortable with that risk? Because, at any point an artist can be like, okay, I'm going to go with a different sound for this next project. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I've seen that a lot.
Yeah. No, for sure. So like we have like an inside joke where I always call him like Nostradamus or something. Because like the first day we ever met, like the first couple times, he's like always been like, "Yo, you're my guy." And like
Mm,
when I get signed to a record label, like you're gonna come out there with me, and we're gonna make this record. So he kind of put it. It was like law of attraction, like he threw it out there in the world, and he's like the best at that shit, bro. So
mm,
when he kept saying that, he kept saying it like in Maryland every day, every day. I just believed it,
yeah.
I was just like, we were just so tunnel visioned out and so locked in. He was like, "We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it." And then when we moved to LA and he signed at Def Jam, this was kind of where it was like a cross point for me,
Hmm.
where he was getting in the session studio with Hit Boy, No ID, Ninth Wonder, Swift D, like all these big names. So and he was making songs with them, and it was
Yeah.
like because that's what the label is doing, and he also had an itch to scratch too. He was like, "Man,
Yeah.
let's like I need a hit," and I had to really dig deep and kind of like out produce these other guys in order for me to, because even though we were boys, it's like he's gonna choose the best songs, he's gonna choose the best beats, even though we were work, and I was always gonna do like additional production on these beats if they
Right.
weren't mine or whatever. But it's like I was like, nah, fuck that.
Right.
Like I can, this is my guy. So I was like cooking out every day, and like that's like some of the best shit came out, like stuff like Gang Related and Under Pressure and
Dope.
I'm Gone and like Soul Food, like all these records came out of me trying to like out produce and out compete these
Mm.
names, which kind of it sharpened my sword in a
Yeah.
great way. So if I was never around that, I probably wouldn't even have even pushed myself to make these records. So
That's
yeah,
dope.
under that stress, it kind of made me like, okay, fuck, there's no way I'm letting someone else produce this record. Like that
Yeah.
was my whole shit.
But it sounds like the communication was always there, the love was always
Hmm.
there. That kept you kind of like in this. And that's dope that you had your response to seeing these other producers was like game on as
Game
opposed to
on.
as a, as opposed to like, this fucked up, man. How you gonna how you gonna go into the studio with these folks? You kind of understood the
Yeah,
game. You understood the game at
yeah.
that point.
That's the. I guess I did, man. Like there was, yeah. I never. It was nothing against him. Obviously, it's like, bro, if I was him and I had a chance to get in the studio with Hit Boy, like I'm
Mm.
gonna fucking do that shit.
Yeah.
So to me, it was like, one, I was a rookie in this shit. Like I didn't learn, like I didn't earn my stripes yet. So how could I be mad at that?
Mm.
Like if they're making better shit than me, like, and at the end of the day, it's all gonna help the brand anyway. So
Yeah.
that's also what I thought in the back of my mind. It's like, okay, cool. Like even if I don't make the hit and someone else makes the hit, it's gonna propel our brand anyway.
Yeah.
So why screw that up?
Yeah.
But yeah, and also it's like I'm not gonna jeopardize my position. Like I'm not gonna say no bullshit. And he's like, "All right, get the fuck out of here." Then I gotta go back to school and shit, and I'm back in Maryland, like at the 9 to 5. Like I'm thinking about all this shit.
No, well, I mean, I think it's great that you were thinking. A lot of creatives are very impulsive. You know what I mean? And they feel something and they say it. They don't really think through all of the possibilities or the fallout of what potentially could happen. So we talked about. I just want to make sure that people understand, like, because that's the producer perspective. From the artist perspective, I think it's so important to find somebody like you early days and to really develop your sound. I had another artist on here. His name is Ali Joseph. We distribute him at Two Loss as well. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but he's locking in with I think two main producers and really developing a
Hmm.
sound.
Hmm.
Talk about how important it is for an artist to like there's the role that a producer that really locks in early can play, and the benefits of that, as they develop as an artist.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's the like genesis of what like hip hop is, you know, like my favorite stuff has always been like one artist, one producer, like, you know, Gangstar, you know, Dre and Snoop, like Dre and M, you know,
Yeah.
like RZA and Wu, like all these groups that they had a cohesive, like why do you think all these albums are classics?
Mm-hmm.
It's because there's a sound, you know, there's a cohesive sound. It ain't like a mixtape. It ain't a bunch of random. It's one artist and one producer having a vision together to get the shit done, you know. And when you find that perfect balance, it's like you can't beat it, you know. So
Yeah.
that's yeah, like that is it's so important to have that, you know, at least to establish that workflow early on and to know like because that's the thing. It's like you want to be able to communicate and
Mm.
talk to each other because an artist might not talk to a producer that they just met the same way that they would talk to, you know, someone like Logic would talk to me, you know.
Right.
And that's how you make the best music. It's you're comfortable with somebody
Yeah.
and get to really talk about the art. And once you talk about it and get to know them, it's like that's when the music becomes the best it could be because you guys are kind of vibing off each other. And that's how it always works. It's always like a conversation, and then it's like, oh shit, let's make a song. And
Yeah.
those are some of the best songs that always happens, you know. So yeah, like just that cohesive sound is important. I feel like, which is missing a lot of the times in hip hop, man.
Yeah. No, I think some people might hear this, and of course, people have found success doing things different ways. But I
Hmm.
think that, if you're looking for, and there's been some one-off hits that do well, but to me, if you're an independent artist and you want to build a catalog that people stream for a very long time and
Yes.
not just try to capitalize on a moment, because that's where the catalog really starts increasing in value, right? That replay
Hmm.
value. Have like quality songs that people are locking in. I mean, some people make songs for the moment, might get 10 million, 10 million streams this year. After that, once it falls off, it falls off. But, to
Yeah.
me, quality and what you guys can build when you lock in with somebody, just time and time after again, the catalog can go crazy. And I'm sure you're seeing
Yeah.
that.
I always say like a great album always beats a hit single.
Mm,
At least to me, like that's how I feel. It's
yeah.
like a hit single, yeah, like it's gonna do things for you. You know, you're gonna get your pub deal, you're gonna get your crib, which is great. You need all that shit. But you know, a great record is gonna stand the test of time, you know? Like you look at like Illmatic, right? And when that first came out, I don't think it did very well like the
Right.
first year or so, you know.
Yeah.
And then over time, it got legs and legs and legs.
Yeah.
But that's because it's a great fucking record, you know. And that's always gonna stand the test of time, you know. Like I think Illmatic's like probably the greatest hip hop record of all. I mean, that is what hip hop is to me. Is
Mm,
that record, you know? You know, he wasn't trying to make no hits. Like it wasn't flashy. It was just like real and that's gonna live forever, you know, just making a good, great album, you know.
yeah.
And a hit might come. You never know when you're gonna make a hit. Like when we did 1-800, we didn't know that was gonna be his biggest song ever. Like
Right.
what? We were just making a record. Like that was the last song we made on the album.
Yeah.
But and we weren't trying. Every time we try to make a hit, it never really worked.
Mm,
So for the third album, we're like, okay, we're just gonna make this record, make an album, you know, this concept album, and yeah, 1-800 just happened to be like one of the songs, and you just never know what's gonna be a hit and what's not gonna be a hit. So make your album good, and
yeah.
then everything else will follow.
So obviously there's millions of artists, pursuing this as a career. I think one of the thing what really stands out to me from artists that I think are going to be successful is consistency and quality from record to record. Like I might hear one song from an artist, I'm like, man, that shit is dope. I want to hear another one. And then I play it and it's a huge drop off from the first one. I think having that producer locked in helps you be more consistent from record to record, so that you can pump out more
Yeah.
quality songs and stop being all over the place with your quality.
Yeah, and a producer like we're talking, it's like all it takes is to be like, yeah, I think you got to redo that verse. Like
Mm,
it's not even necessarily like making beats too. It's like the Rick Rubin shit where it's like you're saying, like that fall off. Like if someone was just like, yo, like just think about that second line in that verse, and like
Mm.
just throwing this like little stuff out there.
Yeah.
That's producing to me as well. And like the artist has to be able to trust what the producer says. You know,
Yep.
like that you got to build that trust too, because at the end of the day, it is the artist's album,
Hmm.
so they're not just gonna listen to everybody. But if you're their producer and you're locked in with them and they can trust you, like yeah, like shit like that. Like I remember I like Logic always brings this story up. There's one of his first songs we ever did that kind of got him signed and stuff was this song called Mind of Logic. And he did the first verse. I was like, oh, this is great. And then we talk about this all the time. He sends back like the second and third verse, and I was still in college, and I call him and I'm like, yeah, bro, I think you got to redo those verses. And it was the first time I told him that, and he was like, what, really? But then he ended up doing it, and that song became really big at the time and led him to do a tour and all. So it's like little, you gotta like, yeah, you're so right. Like that is a producer's job, is to kind of state the hard facts, but not in a way that's gonna like turn them off.
Right.
It's a subtlety to it that you know
Yeah.
you gotta apply to it.
Were you good at that out the gate, or did you learn like how to change your tone or communication style like over the years, or did you already have that relationship where you can pretty much be blunt as you need to be and be like, fuck it, you need to change that shit?
Yeah, yeah. I think I've always kind of. It was never like condescending,
Got
because it's music, right? It's all objective at the end of the day. But yeah, I was always like, because Bob, like Logic knows, like because he'll know about my reaction. So it's like
Mhm.
he'll play me something, I'll be like, yeah, I'll be like, that's dope, like, and that means it's cool. But
Yeah.
if I'm like, if I have a certain reaction, if I'm like the scrunch face, like he knows
Yeah.
it's. So it's like he could tell too. It's like that's something you grow together. Like
Right.
if I'm just like, oh, that's crazy, like he'll know. It's like, okay, it's not the one. But if I'm like, yeah, like if I'm doing the scrunch face, if I'm doing the bop, like
Right.
there's certain little tendencies that we catch on to each other where we, without even saying it, he'll
Hmm.
know. And that's just over years and years and years of working together where we don't have to say nothing to each other at this point, and we're having a full conversation. It's weird.
Yeah.
But
Nah.
at the beginning, yeah, I kind of had to explain, but as you work and grow, it just becomes easier and easier to just be honest.
Got you. How long has it? Like, when did you start building your own team? Obviously, you have management now.
Yeah.
How long have you had management in your own team?
So I've had management pretty much my whole career. I was with Visionary Music Group for the first part of my career with Chris Zaru and
Mhm.
Harrison, and kind of switched managements recently. So I'm with my buddies who I kind of came up in the industry with, Mike and Justin, who are great people. And I really just, obviously me and Visionary had a great connection, but I needed someone who was like down and ready to ride for me. Obviously like Visionary, they had, Logic and John Bellion and a couple other artists and me as well. Super grateful, but I kind of needed to transition to now where I need to be able to call and be like, yo, I want to put out this beat tape like tomorrow, like boom, 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 boom. So it's been really cool to have a team that's like fully dedicated to you. But also, I gotta say, like, even when I was with Visionary, I wasn't in this zone,
Mm.
like, of me trying to put myself out there. So I can't necessarily put blame, and that's not even the right word or whatever it's
Right.
called. It's just like I was just like I was saying, like I was a homebody, I was an introvert, I was complacent, I was happy, I was satisfied, you know,
Mm.
I'm making these platinum records. We're putting out these. We're at the fucking Grammys. We're doing all the shit. So I'm coasting, bro. Like
Yeah.
in my head, I was never like, oh my god, like I need a new team. I need a team. Like nah, like we were just working, 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 and now I'm at a point where I do need that team. I do. It's been fun though. Like I'm learning how to even be a leader in that sense too. Like
Yeah.
leader with my peers, with my people that work for me, it's a different way to navigate. Like, I'm still a chill guy, but
Right.
sometimes you got to put on the boss hat and make tough calls. So that's been a learning experience.
Yeah. So what are the other folks that you have on the team? So you have
Man, I have a small team. It's really just me, Mike, and Justin, and
okay.
we're just yeah. And we'll hire like camera guys and directors and photographers, but through like we have all the connects, man. It's like we just like work with people that we're cool with and
Yeah.
that we get along with. So yeah, no, I keep a small team, but we get shit done, man,
Yeah.
and I kind of like it that way, you know.
No. I think you really only need like a core group of people to
Yeah,
move in this environment. And with the success that you've had, I think it's not that you can just call anybody, but with your resume, you're going to get more callbacks or people to respond than like
yeah.
the
No,
cat with
it
the
was
cold email.
surprising, man. Like when we put out the bat signal for this record, like everyone showed up. I was
Mm.
like, "What?" Like
Yeah.
like I didn't expect it or believe it, but everyone like Juicy J and Blue like pulled up to the studio. I'm like that's crazy. Like I didn't think, but I should have known, because
Yeah.
like you said, like the work that I put in throughout the last decade, like it
Yeah.
shows, so
Yeah.
they respect it too.
All right, cool. So we talked about your team. You got a small team. It's pretty much just you and your management team, and then
Hmm.
you bring in other people as necessary. Obviously, you've partnered with us here at Two Loss to put out this
Yes.
project. But I would never ask anybody like how much money they make. But I do think it's important for people to hear like how the business of a producer, or at least you, like breaks down percentage wise, right? So I like my top revenue stream is streams or it's publishing, or like, how does the business mix break down percentage wise for you as a producer?
Yeah, so when, working with Logic, it was a couple different sources. So one thing was advances for albums.
Hmm.
So anytime we would make a record, you get X amount of dollars per record, like upfront, which I kind of built up throughout the years. So like I remember like the first record I did, I got like 15K for the whole record, and that was a lot of money for me at the time, like the most money I've ever seen.
Yeah.
At the time, I was like a broke college student, and I got 15K, and it's almost you can't go into it like, man, let me get 300K for this record like off break. It's something you got to earn. You got to build up your catalog. It's you start out 15K, and then the next record. And that's another thing why you should find this artist if you're a producer, because you kind of will have leverage now to make these decisions, because you're
Mhm.
producing the whole record. They got to pay you.
Right.
If they want to put it out, they got to pay you. So it's, we start out with that, and you slowly build up album to album, eventually to whatever price you want to get. And then publishing, yeah, publishing is super important. That's passive income that you're gonna get for the rest of your life. So always make sure you get your splits in. Always make sure you get your points on the master. That's super important, because you never know what song will blow up. You never know what song's going to do well. This is something 10 years, like you were saying, 10 years, 20 years down the line, something can get picked up by a movie or a commercial. So you want to make sure your ducks in a row with that. Publishing is really what is the end all be all, I think, as a producer. The advances are cool, but make sure you're always getting the splits, the publishing.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the biggest, the advances, and then the publishing, and then random beats here and there. Like that's really how I was living,
Yeah.
for the last like
Mm.
10, 12 years.
Yeah.
And that was another reason why like I'm doing this record too, and like putting myself out there is like you never know when that is going to stop too. So it's like, let's make sure we have other outlets, something that I can stand on my own 2 feet, that I can say is mine. And that was really important for me to do with this record too. But yeah, there's a lot as a producer, selling beats too. I used to sell beats, man,
Hmm.
back in the day before these albums, like through like my email and like my PayPal and shit. And like that's if you're starting out, that's a great way to go about it. Like you have your leases, and then you have
Yeah.
your exclusives, and it's a great way to go about it. But also now TikTok, man, you can make money on as a producer. You can make money on TikTok, on YouTube. Like the possibilities are endless. But yeah, as a producer, man, get in the lab with somebody. make sure that you're getting these advances, man, especially from the labels. Like the labels, they have the money, they have the budget, you know.
Yeah.
And so make sure the artists and they have, you guys need to have a talk too. It's like, you know, me and Logic would have talks all the time, and like he always showed me love. I remember like the first record, he was like, "Yeah, you're gonna get an advance." I was like, "What? That's sick." So just communicate with the person you're working with. Make sure that you know you guys are working together,
Dope.
and make it work. Yeah, you know, it's a simple thing. It's really a simple thing as a producer, and then you can start doing shows and stuff. That, you know, I've done a few gigs, you know, DJ stuff. You can make money. You know, it's a lot of ways. You just got to get creative.
Yeah. How are you mentioned TikTok? How are producers using TikTok to get to the bread?
Oh man, they're just posting beats, tutorials, random stuff. Yeah, random stuff. The producer community is pretty big on TikTok. It can be whatever, man. People like, I don't know if you know someone like Kalen Ellis,
I don't.
who's he's an incredible producer, and his content is great. He's a drummer, but also does like, you know, beats like Dilla type shit, you know, all that kind of stuff. And the way he does it is very tasteful. You know, there's a Connor Masura is another TikTok producer. I mean, I shouldn't say TikTok producer. He's a producer on TikTok,
Yeah.
and you know, yeah, like it's just a creative outlet, and people. This goes back to what we were talking about. You know, when we first started, is like I feel like people are getting interested in the producer now, and they are understanding the role that a producer has in making these records. You know,
Yeah.
especially with these. Like you saw Mustard in the Super Bowl, bro. Like he's
Yes.
there. He's there. You
Yeah.
know, he's right there in the middle of everything, and
Yeah.
everyone knows Mustard. So yeah, I think this is a great time to be a producer. No one's holding them back
Yeah.
anymore.
I love that you say that because I say now is the best time to be just a creator in general. You know, there's so many ways to make money. Like you're talking about on TikTok. There's compared to the different ways we made money when, you know, back in 2008, 2009, like
Man.
the opportunities are endless. I did want to get your perspective because obviously with the success that you guys had and have, like you would have been successful in any era. But what's your perspective on streaming and the economics of streaming?
Yeah, you know, we came out at a time where it was like the crossover. So we had CDs, like our first record. Like I remember going to Best Buy and buying CDs, which I miss that. I do miss the physical thing of someone having to drive to the store and ask the dude at the counter, like, "Oh, do you have this record?" And then opening it up and looking at the book. Like I miss that. But streaming, man, it makes it easy. It makes it easy for your music to get out into the world. I mean, it does get a little, oh, not a little, but pretty oversaturated, right? It's
Mm,
everyone's putting out music, everyone's streaming, so it might be a little harder to separate yourself. But I think the accessibility of streaming definitely helps you get your word out there. In terms of coming down to like the money and the splits, they're probably robbing us. Let's be real. Like
mm.
these streaming services, I'm pretty sure they're getting a majority of the money that these artists are making from streams, which is unfortunate, and I hope that changes. But you know, it's a good way for your music to get out there, and that's just is what it is these days, man. Like everyone wants it at their fingertips.
Yeah.
So you kind of just you got to go with the times, man. But I do miss those days, man. I mean, first week sales, right? I don't think that's even really a
Yeah.
thing anymore.
Not so
It's
much.
because streaming kind of, it kind of put all that out the window. It's just like you're looking at the streaming numbers,
Yeah.
not necessarily like what the album did. But that also makes people want to not make a record. Maybe they're just looking at these streaming numbers on these singles or songs,
Yeah.
and they think that's probably the way to go. When you really, I'm an album guy. Like I said this a couple times already, but it's like I feel like the streaming maybe is taken away from the album. Like everyone wants to just get on these playlists, and
Mm,
they want to make sure that their single is doing good, which kind of takes away from the art of it in a way.
yeah.
So that's another side of it I see. But man, as a fan of music, like streaming, it's great. It's great because I can listen to anything at any time, man.
Mm,
You
yeah.
can't really beat that. Yeah.
Well, I will say that, supposedly what Spotify says is they pay out 70% of their revenue to rights holders. That's what's supposed to happen. I don't know. They
Yeah. Who knows what's really going down, bro?
I don't know who checks that, who audits it, but
Yeah.
70% is supposed to go to rights holders. 30% to the operations of their business, or back to Spotify. But yeah, I mean, we'll see.
Interesting.
I've seen, I think here at Two Laws, we benefit because of streaming. There's a lot of creators that want to get their music out. There's a lot of creators that once you've been able to build some momentum, they access to like alternative financing options,
Hmm.
based on leveraging their catalog. They have a history of healthy streams. So it's definitely there's pros and cons of every era.
Yeah, as a marketing guy, like what are you seeing now? Like how are you, is there anything different that you're doing now with like the streaming stuff that you're like applying or?
No, I mean, if I was, I don't work with any artists day to day in terms of marketing their music. I'm more so
Hmm.
marketing the Two Laws brand. But
Oh, I see. Yeah.
if I was still working with artists, like the consistency would be key, right?
Yeah, true.
I
Yeah.
feel like if Funk Volume still existed today, we would be crushing it, because as a collective, you can be. It's not as much pressure to be consistent as one person, right? We can always hit them with something. We could always, we could drop weekly. You could do so much when you have a team to stay present, that I think we would have crushed it in this era.
Yeah, I agree. No, I mean, you guys were one of the first people to do. I just got to say, man, like back then, like I remember Dizzy. Dizzy was one of the first people that like showed me love, like personally. Like I always got love for Dizzy because besides Logic, like he was the one that I kind of fucked with the most.
Yeah.
Like we had a bunch of dope ass songs. I remember he came through the studio and he like back in the day, and we did a joint called Young Jedis.
Mm,
That's like a fan favorite. Like people love that song. And yeah, like man, shout like Dizzy's always been. I just gotta say that always been like a stand up fucking guy, man, and just always. I like
yeah,
remember those days we were on tour together and shit. Like man,
man.
good time. Those are like the glory days, bro.
Nah, it definitely was a lot of good times for sure. I learned a lot, grew a lot. Unfortunately, ours ended differently than the way you guys
Yeah, nah,
did,
man.
but I
But you
think,
still had that moment, man.
yeah,
Like and Hoppa too, bro. Man, shout out to Hoppa, dog. Like
yeah,
what a fucking guy. What a
yeah.
fucking guy Hoppa is,
I,
man.
I recently had lunch with Hoppa. I hadn't seen him in probably 6 years,
Wow.
but recently had lunch with him. Got a chance to catch up.
That's awesome,
Just
man.
just
Yeah,
talk.
he's like, you got like kids and shit now, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
People growing
Crazy. We're all getting old, man. We're getting older, bro.
Hey,
It's
we're getting.
crazy.
Well, I'm still a lot older than you, but
Nah,
yeah,
you look great, brother. You look great.
appreciate it. We're gonna. I mean, we're getting towards the end of this interview, man. It's been great.
Man, likewise, bro.
But one thing I did want to discuss, like, because I know that you're active on Twitter and you have a Discord. So it's
Hmm.
important for you to start building, your own community, telling your own story, interacting with people. Like how. I mean, I guess I just told people you have a Twitter and you're active on Discord, but like, what's the approach there? What's the mindset? Like, how are you thinking about building your community?
Yeah, I just want to build like I want people to know why I'm doing this. First of all, like especially with this album, I want people to know it's me pushing myself out of my comfort zone. And
Mm,
so I'm just being like super vulnerable with it. Like every time I'm like tweeting something, I'm gonna be honest and be like, yo, this was scary for me. Like, or like, really, I'm just gonna be honest with myself on Twitter, and I hope people relate to it. And just yeah, like you said, just putting whatever out there that I think is worth it, and just having fun with it. I'm not putting too much pressure on it, but I do want to connect with the fans. Like I feel like that's the biggest thing is connecting with the fans. That's how we started, man. Back in the day, it was just like every fan, got to make sure you connect, and even
mm,
if it's 10 fans, if it's 100, whatever, I want to make sure that I'm connecting. So every time I'm on social media, I want to make sure I'm like talking to the fans, showing them love, like appreciate them for showing me love. So it
yeah,
never goes in vain. Like I just want them to know that, like I care.
yeah,
And that it means a lot to me. So I'm gonna
yeah.
keep doing that.
Not to. Do you feel like this? Because Discord is obviously a powerful tool. Do you feel like that's kind
Hmm.
of a safer space for your community? Like, what's your opinion on Discord, and why have you?
No, I loved it. I started a Discord and I haven't really been too active on it. I do need to be more active on Discord, which I'm about to be, with this album and everything. But yeah, I think it's a space where yeah, the fans can all get together and talk about something. It's a space for the fans really to have a safe space to talk about their favorite artists and to share stuff, and like they can even share. So on my Discord, I have like different channels, and like one of my channels is like beat submissions.
Mm.
So it's also like a community for producers to meet other producers and give like feedback on beats. You
Dope.
know, artists can go to my Discord and go to the beats and, you know, find their producer. Like they can find their, you know, 40 to Drake, 6 Logic, whatever the fuck. Like I want that to be a safe place for artists to go and producers to go. And there's also like tutorials on there, so people are going to be teaching other people how
Dope.
to produce, and I'm going to be posting my stuff on there. But yeah, I just wanted to be a community that you know, everyone's helping each other out, everyone's, you know, excited about you know, the same shit, and producing and music and whatever they want to talk about, they can talk about. So
Dope.
that's kind of what mine is.
So just a couple other questions since we came up around the same time. I think
Yeah.
the double XL cover back. Actually, I don't even know if
Sheesh.
you can
What a
see it.
time.
So this is actually around the time where we met. This because obviously Logic and Dizzy were on the cover at the same time.
That's is that the best cover of all time right there or what?
I'm sure you're gonna get some debates. There's been some big ones.
That's up there though, bro.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a quality one. You got Trav on there,
You
Schoolboy.
got Trav, Schoolboy, Bronson, Joey,
Yeah,
Logic, Dizzy. Like, come on, bro.
nah, it's definitely one of them ones. But if you were
Yeah.
just to implant yourself into any era of music to pursue music as not as a fan, this is you get to pick
Yeah.
like you're presenting yourself as an artist slash producer. You can insert yourself into any year of music. Where would you insert yourself?
This is an easy one for me. It's gonna be, so I grew up listening to like classic rock, and like that was my first love. Like my dad always played that shit, and
Mm.
I played guitar and drums and bass, and like that was my passion up until I was like 18. I mean, it still is up until like 17 or 18. So for me, I wish I was like 18 in like 1967.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
He went way back.
Yeah. Like I feel like from like 1967 to like 75 was like for me like the golden era of like when music became what it is today. You
Okay.
know, they weren't really, you know, like like Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, Black Sabbath, like Beatles, Stones, like that's my shit. Like that's what I grew up playing and listening to.
Dope.
And albums, in 65, like the Beatles dropped this record Rubber Soul, and before then it's the concept of a album or like a conceptual album wasn't even a thing. So
Mm.
like in like 65, I feel like I would go like right there.
Uh-huh.
That's when all those records, man, like all like Jimi Hendrix came out and like Pink Floyd and like those Beatles records, like that was my shit. And that's my favorite era to sample too, is like 60s and 70s shit.
Dope.
It's just something about the way, I don't know, there's something in the air, like the way they were recording stuff. It was just like a warm
Yeah.
texture, and like these are all these innovations of music were coming out that we still use to this day. Like all these guitar pedals, amps, guitars, like were all made in this era that are highly, highly coveted. So you can go back then and get it for like, you can get a guitar for like $100, and that
Mm.
same guitar now is probably worth like $300,000. So it's like, yeah, that was like that's the golden era for me. I would love to go back there, and the
Damn.
style too and everything. Yeah.
Damn. I was about to wrap this up, but it made me think of another question just in terms because obviously you're very, you're an experienced producer, you're very musically inclined. There's often debates in the producer community of like how much music you actually need to know. What's your opinion on that?
I think taste is the most important thing.
Mm.
I don't think skill or having not theory, knowledge, it does play a part, but it's not the definition of what makes you a good producer. Like you can not, like, I don't think Kanye knows how to play the piano or knows how to play the guitar or the drums, but he damn knows what sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about, and it's probably a bad time to bring up Kanye too with all the shit he's saying, but I'm talking about like as a producer, yeah. Even Rick Rubin says you don't even know how to use a board. You don't even know, like, but it's all taste.
Mm.
You can't teach taste,
Right.
and that's the most important thing as a producer. You can have all the skills, all the knowledge in the world, but if you can't, it's all about making a song.
Mm.
You know, at the end of the day, it's not about you can flex and do all that shit, but that might not resonate with somebody who just like tastes like you look at like Nirvana, right? Like Kurt Cobain. This dude wasn't a musical savant in a way, but his taste, you can't beat his taste. Like
Yeah.
his riffs were the most simple riffs that someone who just picked up a guitar can learn. But it still transcends to this day because it's just all about taste. So yeah, don't people always trip about learning theory or learning all it's like, nah, you don't worry about that. Just trust your ear. Like if it sounds good, fuck the theory. The shit can be in the whole wrong key.
Mm.
But if it sounds good to you and you have that taste, that's the most important thing for sure.
Got you. So we have Homebody coming out March 7th, right?
Yes, sir.
And you're probably gonna put out another single or two before.
Yeah, probably gonna put out 2 singles before then. Probably one official single and then a couple other just like cool videos with some of the snippets of the songs that we'll put out there. And then yeah, March 7th, the full album, 16 songs, man, a hell of a lot of features on there. And shout out to you guys for helping me put this out, bring this vision to life. And it's right around the corner, bro.
Yeah.
March 7th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm obviously the fans, as soon as you put it out, they're gonna be like, when's the next one?
Yeah, oh my God, I know.
This question is not implying that, but has the process, like, and just this experience, do you know that you're gonna make another one at some point?
Yeah, this is the launching pad. Like that's what I'm telling myself. Like I love this record and I'm like, super proud of it. But it's also I know it's like this is the launching pad, man. I want to let people know that I'm outside, bro. I am a homebody, but I am outside now. This is not the first, not the last. This is like the first. This is like the start of a new chapter for me. I feel like I'm back. I feel like I'm grinding again. Like I'm back in the basement, like grinding right now for my
Nice.
shit. So yeah, like definitely, like if the fans are listening, like don't worry. Like this is the first. This is gonna be the first of many, and I'm gonna want to work with more artists too. So any artists, feel free to hit me up. Back in the day, yeah, I was probably not about it, but now, I'm super open now. Like,
Dope.
yeah. So yeah, we're out here, bro. We're just getting started.
And people are gonna hear that and be like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah, let's clip that and let's put it out there. Yeah.
What genre? I mean, I know you're kind of all like, even with this record, so many different sounds. Like, what when you hear a new artist, like, what typically makes you go like, "Oh shit!" Like this person's got it.
Yeah, for me, like being in the industry and being in music, I always get interested in artists that I don't necessarily make that type of music. Because sometimes when I make that type of, even though I do make a lot of different stuff, it's like if it's something so far left that I'm like not even competing with, don't want to say competing, but it's like, when you're in the industry, you're always like listening to stuff and like being like, fuck, like I should have done this. Like I need to go cook up now. But there's artists like Clairo, who's, she put out a record last year that's fucking incredible. It's like some indie, like pop, but has like that gritty hip hop feel to it too. And like an artist like McGee, for example, who's an incredible like guitar player, vocalist, and it's like I would never like make music like that, but I love listening to it. It's always the stuff that I feel no pressure like when I listen to stuff, like because I listen to like I don't know, like Kendrick or Cole or whoever, and I'll hear some amazing music and I'll be like, fuck, I gotta go in the lab now. God damn it. Like this shit is too good. Like it makes me mad almost. It's like, fuck, this shit is too good. I gotta step my shit up. And then I'm like back hooking up. But for me, I enjoy just like listening to music where I can enjoy it and not like break it down and like study it to the point where I'm like trying to cook up. It's just like an escape.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of artists that I really like, and stuff like I'm always listening to shit from like back in the day, like stuff I grew up listening to, like classic rock stuff, like we were saying, or even like 2000s stuff that I grew up, 90s stuff that I grew up listening to, like where there's no pressure. I'm just like escaping and listening to it. So that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Dope. Well, I'm sure you already got a ton of people in your DMs. You're about to get that many more.
Yeah. I hope. Yeah. Flood the DMs, man. I'm ready.
That's dope. So we got Why Should I out right now featuring Drum, Guap Dad. I think he just goes by Guap now, right? Or
Yeah, Guap.
did he put the dad back on? Because I interviewed him maybe a couple years ago, and I went from Guap Dad to Guap. I don't know if he went back to Guap.
Yeah, I think I call him Guap, so we'll just
Okay.
say Guap.
And,
Yeah.
and Juicy J is also on that record, so make sure you check out Homebody on March 7th.
Yep.
Man,
Thank you, bro.
I'm glad to be reconnected.
Me too, bro.
I'm glad you got this renewed energy, bro. I feel it. I feel
Yeah.
like, the best of your career has yet to come. And I love that you still got like that competitive, like the competitive edge to yourself. Like I love that's come out a few times in this interview.
Yeah.
Like friendly competition, like it
Yeah,
inspires
it's always, always.
to level up, so I love that. Any last words before we get up out of here?
Man, just want to say, appreciate you for having me, bro. Like we were saying, like this is like some full circle stuff. It's good
Indeed.
to see. I mean, I likewise, man. I see it in you too, bro. Like we're both still here, bro, doing this shit, man. It's a beautiful thing to see, bro. So, appreciate you having me on, man, and excited for you guys to welcome me into the Two Lost family. And man, like excited to put out this record, excited to make more and keep
Indeed.
this going, bro.
Indeed. This has been another episode of Independent Living. Hopefully you learned a lot, laughed a lot, enjoyed it. Until next time, peace.
Peace out.